so much for inviting me here to your home to talk about this wonderful subject.
Oh, you're welcome.
Dr. Heinze, I see that we're surrounded here, that you're surrounded here by these wonderful implements that shamans have used. And we're going to maybe have you demonstrate how the drums are used later on in the program. But right now, I'd like to learn a bit about your early life and how it led to your present interest. May we do that?
Okay. I think it started when I was in preschool age, and I had a mystical experience. And I think I should tell a little bit about it. I was standing at the Baltic Sea. I lived in Germany at the time. And I must have synchronized my breathing with the waves and with the wind. And all of a sudden, I became the waves, the wind, and the heat of the sun. And it was an all-encompassing experience. And it was really a very strong experience. My parents said, you must have a heat stroke, and put me in bed, you know. And it actually was good. This gave me some time to recuperate from it and sort it out what it actually was. But then I discarded it. It was a beautiful experience, and once in a while I could recall it. I came exactly into the same situation, had the same feelings, and so later on, much later, when I began to study at the University of California and had to decide on what to write about, I picked it up again, and I got a Fulbright Hays a research grant to do research in Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. But I had done research before in a couple of countries like Philippines and Japan and Germany, and here in the United States, of course.
But from that single experience when you were a preschooler, it was you synchronized your breathing with the waves, and that's somewhat like synchronizing your consciousness maybe to the beat of a drum almost. It's rhythmical.
It's another technique to change, to alter your consciousness. It's another technique. At the time I didn't know it. I only felt the effect, and I still can recall it. When I recall it, my skin starts to rise. The hair on my skin starts to rise.
Right. And a bit later, when you were a teenager, what was your attitude toward religion? I think you were a Lutheran?
When I was about to confirm, I was raised a Lutheran. I had to go to the pastor because I was in deep trouble, and I said, I cannot be confirmed, that's impossible, because I don't believe in the concept of original sin. I just don't believe in it. And he was a good man, and he said, well, I know it, God knows it, and do me a favor, go through the ceremony, and so we don't raise unnecessary waves, you know. So I went through confirmation, and when he blessed me, I slid down from the pillow, you know. And
you did?
He smiled. He knew why I slid down. I didn't want to be blessed because I hadn't deserved it.
And I think at this time you were what, in Germany? Where in Germany?
I was in Berlin, Germany. I lived there during the bad years, during Hitler, during the war years.
What was that like for you, living in the World War II?
Something you really don't want to talk about because it's impossible. You have to be careful what you say. You have to watch. There's no free speech during Hitler.
And you were an actress at the time.
Yeah, well,
you were on stage.
I found, this was the reason why I became an actress, because on stage you said the words of the author and not your own, you know.
So you could not be blamed for it.
You couldn't be blamed, and there's a famous play by Friedrich Schiller, and Marquis Posa says, give freedom of thought, and I always got a standing ovation.
Everyone wanted to hear that, but couldn't say it themselves. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, but during this time, what gave you strength? I mean, I imagine there were times when food was very short, and
I lost. I was, I think, 90 pounds. I mean,
oh my God!
And even less. I don't know. Well,
what gave you strength during this time?
I don't know.
Did you have a memory of that time when you were a child?
It gave me the opportunity to go to a different level of consciousness.
Did you fear death during this time?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, of course, it's unavoidable. One bomb hit the front of our house, and we were sitting down in the air raid shelter. So I was very close to it.
Of course.
And then
yes.
the Russians occupied Berlin, and the first 8 days were not very comfortable, but I could avoid rape because I cuffed right into the face of the Russian who wanted to rape me, and they are terribly afraid of catching a disease, and he just shoved me away, and I said, God, thanks, it worked. Good that I was an actress, you know.
Yeah, right.
It
right.
helped.
Dr. Heinze, how
Yeah.
did you how did you become interested in shamanism?
Well, it's hard to say. I don't know the exact moment. I had this mystical experience in early childhood. I was driven to visit shamans and mediums. Mediums are different from shamans because they don't go into trance, you know,
Right.
and shamans can change their consciousness.
Can you tell us something about the first shaman you ever met?
Well, I wouldn't know who it was.
Okay. Can you tell
I
us?
met so many shamans. As I said, when I was looking for a dissertation topic, I got a Fulbright Hays research grant to go to Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore to interview and live with shamans and mediums. And this was the best time of my life because the government paid me for researching something I was deeply interested in. And then I could really live with these guys.
Right. What is a shaman?
A shaman is
Shaman.
it depends. It's just a matter of opinion how you want to. Shaman doesn't make any
Tomato, tomato.
either. A shaman is somebody who can access different states of consciousness at will
At will.
and can use them for certain purposes. Then the second one would be he fulfills needs of the community who ask him to access different states of consciousness, and then he is a mediator between the sacred and the profane. So these are three major criteria I use, otherwise I wouldn't call a person a shaman.
Right. How does a shaman become a shaman?
Well, there are many different ways. You may be born into it, you may inherit it of the family, so the son of a shaman has to become a shaman. There was a Malay shaman, and his eldest son refused to become a shaman. And they finally could convince another son to take over the profession of a shaman. Or you seek it. You can go on a vision quest, for example, and ask for a vision and ask to a spirit to appear, and then the spirit becomes your guide. The shaman always will say, "I'm not doing it. The spirits, the other world tells me how to do it. I'm just serving them."
Can you give us some idea about that? What that other world is? What that other state of consciousness is? I know these things are difficult to talk about, but can you say a few words about this?
Well, there are at least hundreds different states of consciousness, and shamans may use different ones because they may use a full trance where the shaman loses consciousness and a spirit allegedly takes over and speaks through the shaman. Or
You have seen this done?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There was one which was absolutely unbelievable. There was a Malay shaman who said he has a tiger spirit, and would you like to see it? And I'm always
Of course.
yes. And he chanted a few evocations, and then he started to jump from one wall to another like a tiger, and crawled like a tiger and talked like a tiger, and his wife had to translate what he was saying and behaved fully like a tiger. So the transition, it was not a physical one, but his physical movements were like a tiger.
Okay.
It was quite impressive. It was a
I bet it was.
a Malay fisherman. You wouldn't believe it when you meet him in daily life that he had this faculty, you know.
What for you does the word divine mean?
Yeah, it's the infinite flowing energy which goes through all creation, and there is no God. This is a divine energy, a divine power, which is infused in everything, and which is very comforting when you get in a depressed state.
Right. Are there dangers of experimenting with shamanism?
Oh, certainly.
Can we talk about that a bit?
Certainly, well, they're immense. So people should want, and they should only use shamanistic techniques if they have been trained how to get in and to get out. So people have to be strongly warned not to do play with shamanistic techniques.
Right. It was frightening for you to get stuck in your dream and not
Yeah,
to
exactly.
get out, so.
And if you get in a trance and you need somebody to get you out of the trance, you get in a coma. Somebody's like, I had it in a workshop. Somebody all of a sudden was in a coma, and I had to sit with him and constantly say, please raise your little finger if you can hear my voice. I had to say it 45 minutes until he raised his little finger, and I could talk him out of it. You need somebody who talks you out of it, but they may be in a deep coma. So,
where does one go to find a shaman?
well, you shouldn't go, a shaman finds you. And it's like if you need a teacher will appear, something like that. But usually it's word by mouth, word of mouth.
So if you're sensitive enough, you will probably meet other people who are involved in this, and
healers usually have shamanic techniques, and you ask for a healer, and then people seldom admit that they are shamans.
Why is that?
Because they may be overrun.
Right.
The curiosity seekers overrun, it's terrible. So they don't have a shingle. The reputation grows immensely by word of mouth. I saw the birth of a shaman in Singapore, and within a week, he practiced in a house. They owned a house, and every evening the large room of the house was filled with people who asked the shaman, and he possibly couldn't handle it. And later on, when I left Singapore, I learned that the shaman had died because she was her husband was a little bit greedy with money, and he overused her, and she overused her faculties, so she died.
I see. Do some shamans come to America for the intention of profit?
Possibly.
Right. How do you tell who is a shaman and who is not?
Your intuition. Because shamans usually are very humble, they don't even talk about it, and only people tell you this is a shaman. Humility would tell you who is a real one.
Right.
Somebody who announces, forget it.
So a shaman would not advertise?
Never.
Never.
Never. He doesn't need it, the reputation. If he's a good shaman, within a week people come to him naturally because his results are good.
Right.
If you're effective, it's like an actor, you can become famous overnight, because you deliver a good performance.
Shamans use mind-altering substances to get into a different state of mind. Have you met many of these people?
A few. It's usually from South America, shamans from South America, ayahuasca, peyote here, the North American Indians. Well, it's a culture, but it's not necessary. It's cultural. It's a cultural feature.
Is this a legitimate way of contacting alternate?
Inside the culture, it's legitimate because the Native American church got permission from the government to use peyote, but they had to get the permission.
Right.
What is the administration for drug and whatever?
I don't know.
There is an administration, and they had to get an official. So the peyote church can use peyote in a religious context, not outside.
If let's say a Caucasian was sincerely interested in exploring alternate modes of consciousness, how would you feel about him trying it out? Going to, let's say, an ayahuasca ceremony with a legitimate practitioner?
No, well, first they need somebody who introduces them and also guides them through the experience. You should ask people to introduce you, and you should ask them to guide, to be a sitter whenever whatever happens.
Would you say that an alternate state of consciousness induced by a plant substance has the same intensity of effect as a self-willed entering into another state of consciousness?
No, it cannot.
Okay.
It
Tell us
cannot.
the difference.
As I said, there are dozens of different states of consciousness. So no, it possibly cannot. Because one, the mind is involved, and the other one is more emotional and intuitive.
Dr. Heinze, unlike some researchers in shamanism who stay in their libraries or at their universities and research this subject, you have actually gone out into the field to do your work. So you've met these people firsthand, you've actually seen people go into alternative states of consciousness. And some of the people, the experts on shamanism who are revered in the field, have not had the experiences that you've had. I think Iliad might be one of these people.
Yeah, Iliad is a historian of religion at the University of Chicago, and he's a brilliant man, but he never had a real experience of a shaman.
How did he get his information?
His graduate students, he sent them out, and they accumulated all the reports he put in his shaman book.
And Carlos Castaneda?
Well, Carlos Castaneda is he kept himself a little bit mysterious. He may know a Don Juan, but Don Juan may be also a fiction of his own mind, and he just used it. I think he used it for his dissertation at Los Angeles University of Los Angeles.
Right. And then it went from there as the books became popular.
Yeah.
And people believed there was a Don Juan and were disappointed.
Maybe,
that perhaps there was not.
I think what I hypothesize is that he created a composite of different shamans. He definitely knew some shamans, but Don Juan may not be a real person, maybe a composite of different shamans he met.
Dr. Heinze, what are some of the ways that a shaman can alter his consciousness?
Well, there are different ways. Some just can do it by... I take an example from Singapore. I found a shaman standing in front of an image of a spirit and praying, and then the spirit would enter his body and fully take over the shaman and act through him. Or they would go on a vision quest, like American Indians are doing, and pray for a vision and pray for different states of consciousness to gain new information they need for their community. When I was in Singapore on the Fulbright Hayes research grant, they have a certain day in the year where Singaporeans walk on fire, and I was standing at the end of the fire pit, and the fire pit was quite long, was at least 80 or 100 yards, so they just couldn't step 1, 2, 3 steps and then they were out, They really had to run, and I was at the end of the fire pit, and some people got badly burned and some people just not even touched the soles. There was a bath of milk at the end, and they put their feet in, and then you could look at the sole. The sole was untouched, no burn.
How do these people prepare for this?
Yeah, well, I know what the Singaporeans did. They had, there were one day in the temple, I forgot the name, but it's not so important, and they chanted and drummed, which definitely was a deep trance. And who fudged with a trance got burned, it was obvious. But quite a few people were not burned at all, and it was amazing because they were simple people, simple workers, simple Singaporeans, and they did it actually for religious reasons,
You've told me about sonic driving. Could you give me an example of that?
Well, one technique a shaman may use is how to get into a different states of consciousness, and some shamans love to use drums, and we have here quite a few drums. This one actually is from Tibet. This would be used by lamas, and it's a pretty strong sound. 1 minute. And I think it gets you in a different state. This is sonic driver. I'm not doing. And this is a drum. Oops. It started drumming itself. And this is quite good, and I use it in my workshops. After a while it starts to sing. Well, it didn't start to sing, yeah.
And this is rhythmic, and the recent interest in shamanism seems to be connected with the insight that the limited Western worldview needs to be expanded. In what ways are is the Western worldview, whatever that is, limited, and how does it need to be expanded?
Well, a Western worldview can be many things, as you said, but it's very rational, materialistic, and doesn't encourage different states of consciousness. You're supposed to be clear and logic, you know. So which is not a features of shamanism, to be clear. And you should be understandable. It should be understood what you said, but it's very works very much with emotions and intuition, you know.
Dr. Heinze, I have a quote from your book, Shamans of the 20th Century. Shamanism is not a prerogative of the educated or of those with high intelligence, but originates in a different part of being, the shaman's heart, soul, and spirit. Intellect is not the source. Intellect can even block the source to other realms. Can you comment on that?
Yes, definitely. Intellect shuts out many other experiences we have, you know. You may not be fully aware of the emotions or your intuition which come up, and you discard them, or you don't even let them rise to consciousness. So intellect can be a block. Though it's always good to have the intellect as an observer, so you can control better what you're doing.
Right. And the shamanistic experience originates in the shaman's heart. How do we understand that in the shaman's heart?
Well, it's a very personal experience, and each shaman may have a different approach to that, but it's definitely not the intellectual level. He may have the decision to go into a shamanic stage. This is intellectual, but to get into the shamanic stage, you don't use your intellect.
Right. The Western industrial world has advanced in technology, but has paid a heavy price in losing contact with sacred dimensions of life and concern for the environment. How have we lost contact with that sacred dimension of life, and how have we lost concern for the environment as a result?
Well, technology doesn't know its own limitations because it's strictly intellectual, and it praises the feats of the mind, you know, but it is not open for intuition. It's suspect of intuition and of emotions, you know. So it's somewhere inherent in the nature of technology, you know.
Dr. Heinze, in your book, you talk about physicist David Bohm, and he has a theory about space and time. And you also talk about how the shaman goes into that particular space where space and time do not exist. Could you tell us something about this place where space and time do not exist?
Well, this is a here and now. And you go from one here and now to the next here and now, if you're fully present in the moment.
And meditation can help you with this?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Brings you in the right mood and clears your mind, and you become much more aware.
And are there other methods?
Well, there's sonic driving, we talked about.
Would dreams help you to do that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I suggest that many people should start working with their dreams. And they should find somebody. I have a dream group every first Wednesday in this room, and we exchange dreams, and it's just immense what different aspects are brought in when somebody tells a dream and everybody else makes it his or her own dream. That's a very good method.
Right. Do you find that many people now are just not in the here and now?
Yeah, yeah. Absent-minded is not enough. They're just, some are empty hulls, and this is terrible. You wonder where they are. That's a body, but where is he? You know, it's not there. He's not in. You know.
Is this something that you see more and more of, or has it always been?
Well, there always have been some people who are more gifted or less, but as I think modern times, it's a desperation of the intricacies of modern times. You know, it doesn't look very rosy. You know, the global warming and all these doom topics which are spread out in the press. You know, the mass media. You know, this is not very encouraging.
Right. So the key to life and to the fullness of life is being in the here and now.
You know, from second to second.
To second. And it goes on and on and on.
Because each second will be slightly different than the other one. And stay aware of it. Stay aware of the flow, the river of time. I call it the river of time.
Are there some people who are stuck in the same second?
Oh, yeah.
They repeat the same second
Yeah.
over and over again?
There is a film about it with Bill Murray, you know.
What's the film called? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day?
He experienced Groundhog Day over and over and over again, and can't get out of it, you know. Something like
I have
that.
not seen that movie, Groundhog Day.
Oh,
I've got to
it's
see
funny. I saw it. It's funny. And Bill Murray is a good comedian, you know. There's something you can't get out of it. You have to get. You have to leave the here and now for the next here and now. Flow of awareness. It's a flow. It's a river of experience.
And is this the shaman's goal? Is this what the shaman does?
Yeah, and you should watch the banks flowing by. The river is flowing, but you think you're in one place. But the banks, your experiences are flowing by, you know.
Right.
And you stay in the river, stay in the flow of time and of experience. It's a beautiful image.
And the flow of the river is the flow of life, the flow of consciousness.
Yeah, because it's never the same, and but certain material things stay the same. You know, this house will be, I hope, the same.
But consciousness flows.
Yeah.
What have you got out of dream work and your explorations into shamanism?
Well, it started with a natural curiosity. And I was naturally curious as a child, and I must say, as an 87-year-old woman, I'm still curious. So I have to explore more and more, because the unconscious is infinite. It's infinite. There are many more levels which can be explored.
I do respect dreams. I respect people like you who take dreams seriously and who've studied what you've done and are willing to share your early experiences with the audience. And hopefully what we've done here can help someone.
I hope so. I sincerely hope so.
Yeah. Can you think of anything else?
No.
Nothing?
It was a nice end. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to end this by gently maybe drumming on this one? This one is rather intense. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.